Admiral Daeho Kim stood in front of the large window in his office, looking out at the ships floating in space. The Earth Defense Fleet stretched as far as he could see. Hundreds of warships, from small fighters to massive battleships, all ready for war. But today they were talking about peace. The message had arrived 3 days ago. It came from the Galactic Confederation, a group of 12 alien races that controlled most of the known galaxy. They wanted to meet with humanity. They wanted to sign a peace treaty. Daeho turned around when someone knocked on his door. "Come in," he said. Ambassador Sujin Park walked into the room. She was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been Earth's top diplomat for 15 years. If anyone could handle alien politics, it was her. "Have you read the treaty?" she asked, holding up a datapad. "Yes," Daeho said. "It seems too good to be true." Sujin nodded. "That's what worries me. They're offering us everything we could want. Shared technology, protected trade routes, guaranteed territory. Why would they give us all of this?" Daeho walked to his desk and sat down. "Maybe they're scared of us. Or maybe they want something we don't see yet," Sujin said. The door opened again. Captain Hyunwoo Lee entered the room. He was young for a ship captain, only 35 years old, but he had proven himself in battles against pirates and rebels. His ship, the Soul's Pride, was one of the newest and strongest in the fleet. "Admiral, you wanted to see me?" Hyunwoo asked. "Yes. Sit down, both of you." Daeho pressed a button on his desk. The room's lights dimmed, and a hologram appeared in the center. It showed a star map with a bright red dot. "This is Nexus Prime," Daeho said. "The capital world of the Galactic Confederation. In 5 days, Ambassador Park will go there to sign the peace treaty. I've been ordered to provide an escort." Hyunwoo leaned forward. "How many ships?" "3, Daeho said. "The government wants to show that we come in peace." Sujin frowned. 3 ships? To enter the heart of Confederation space? That's not an escort, that's a target. "I know," Daeho said. "But those are our orders. Hyunwoo, you'll command the Soul's Pride. I'll take the Dragon's Breath, and Captain Nam will bring the Rising Sun." "What about weapons?" Hyunwoo asked. "Ceremonial only. No heavy missiles, no plasma cannons. Just basic defense systems." Sujin stood up and walked to the window. "They invite us to their capital, ask us to bring almost no weapons, and offer us everything we could want. This feels like a trap." "Maybe," Daeho said. "But Earth's government wants this treaty. The colonies are growing fast. We need allies, not enemies." The door chimed again. Dr. Bora Choi walked in. She was the fleet's top expert on alien life and technology. She also worked with military intelligence, studying enemy communications and battle plans. "Sorry I'm late," Bora said. "I was analyzing the Confederation's message patterns." "Find anything interesting?" Sujin asked. Bora set her datapad on the desk. "The message came through normal diplomatic channels, but I found something strange. There were encrypted sub-channels hidden in the transmission." Daeho sat up straight. "What kind of encryption?" "Military grade. The kind you use when you don't want anyone to know what you're really saying." The room went quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. The Confederation was hiding something about this peace treaty. "Can you break the encryption?" Sujin asked. "I'm trying, but their systems are advanced. It might take days." Daeho stood up and walked around his desk. "We leave in 3 days. If this is a trap, we need to know before we enter their space." "What if we can't break it in time?" Hyunwoo asked. "Then we go anyway," Sujin said. "But we go carefully." Over the next 2 days, the 3 ships prepared for the journey to Nexus Prime. The Soul's Pride, Dragon's Breath, and Rising Sun were Earth's newest ships. They looked like ceremonial vessels, but they carried hidden surprises. Bora worked day and night trying to break the alien encryption. On the second night, she made a breakthrough. She called Daeho to her lab at 2 in the morning. "I found something," she said, her eyes red from lack of sleep. "The encrypted messages weren't just hidden in our invitation. They were sent to other Confederation worlds too. What do they say? Bora pulled up the translated text on her screen. It's military communication. They're talking about removing the human threat and permanent solution to expansion problem. Deho felt his blood turn cold. They're planning to attack us. It gets worse, Bora said. The messages mention Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies. This isn't just about the peace treaty. They want to hit all of our worlds at once. When? The messages talk about during the ceremony. They plan to strike while our leadership is on Nexus Prime. Deho grabbed his communicator. I need to contact Earth Command immediately. Wait, Bora said. There's something else. The messages mention that they've been watching our communication networks. If we send a normal message to Earth, they might intercept it. Then how do we warn them? Bora smiled for the first time in days. We use Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was Earth's most secret emergency plan. It had been created years ago by the military's top strategists. If activated, it would call hidden fleets from across human space. Most people didn't even know it existed. Are you sure? Deho asked. If we're wrong, we could start a war. If we're right and do nothing, there won't be anyone left to fight a war. Deho thought for a long moment. Then he walked to a secure terminal and entered his command codes. Deep in the ship's computer systems, a message began transmitting. It used quantum encryption and hidden relay stations. To anyone watching, it would look like normal ship maintenance data. But across human space, secret military bases received the signal. The ghost fleets, humanity's hidden weapons, began to move. The next morning, Ambassador Park found Deho in the ship's observation deck. He was watching the stars and thinking about what they were flying into. You look worried, she said. We're flying into a trap, he told her. The Confederation plans to kill us all and then attack Earth. Sujin was quiet for a moment. Are you certain? Bora broke their encryption. They want to eliminate humanity completely. Then why are we still going? Deho turned to look at her. Because if we don't, they'll know we discovered their plan. They might attack immediately. This way, we buy time. Time for what? For our real fleet to arrive. Sujin smiled. It was not a happy smile. You activated Protocol 7. Yes. Good. Let's go to this peace treaty. But let's make sure we're the ones who get to define what peace looks like. The 3 ships left Earth's solar system the next day. They flew toward Nexus Prime, carrying diplomats and soldiers who knew they were flying into a trap. But they also carried something the Confederation didn't expect: the knowledge that humanity was ready for war. Behind them, invisible and silent, the largest fleet in human history began to follow. The journey to Nexus Prime took 4 days. During that time, the 3 human ships passed through Confederation space without any problems. Other alien vessels they met along the way were polite and welcoming. Everything seemed normal. Too normal, Captain Hyunwoo Lee thought as he stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride. He watched the scanner displays showing dozens of alien ships around them. Each one claimed to be a merchant vessel or patrol ship, but something felt wrong. Captain, called his communications officer, Lieutenant So Young Han. We're receiving a welcome message from Nexus Prime. Put it on screen, Hyunwoo said. The main display showed an alien with 8 legs and multiple eyes. This was Chancellor Veltar, the leader of the Galactic Confederation. His species looked like giant spiders, but they were known for being smart and careful planners. Welcome, honored humans, Veltar said in perfect human language. We are excited to meet with your people and create a lasting peace between our civilizations. Thank you for your warm welcome, Ambassador Sujin Park replied from the communication station. We look forward to working together. When the transmission ended, Hyunwoo noticed something strange. So Young, replay that message. Focus on the background, the message played again. Behind Chancellor Veltar, they could see part of a command center. Hyunwoo pointed at the displays visible behind the alien leader. Those are military screens, he said. Look at the ship formations they're showing. Engineering Chief Dong Junyoon, who was visiting the bridge, studied the images carefully. Those formations, they're attack patterns. Why would they be planning military operations during a peace ceremony? Good question, Hyunwoo said. He activated his personal communicator. Admiral Kim, we need to talk. 30 minutes later, the senior officers from all three ships met in a secure conference room aboard the Dragon's Breath. Admiral Daeho Kim listened as Hyunwoo explained what they had seen. It could be normal military planning, Sujin said, but she didn't sound convinced. Dr. Bo-Ra Choi shook her head. I've been monitoring their communication since we entered their space. The patterns are all wrong. They're using too much encryption for a peaceful welcome. What kind of patterns? Daeho asked. Military coordination. Ships moving into position around our route. Communication blackouts in certain sectors. It looks like they're preparing for something big. Dongjun had been quiet during the discussion. Now he spoke up. There's something else. I've been testing our communication systems. We can receive messages fine, but when I try to send anything beyond this star system, the signals get blocked. Blocked how? Interference. It looks natural, like solar radiation, but it's too perfect. Someone is jamming our long-range communications. The room went silent. Everyone understood what this meant. They were cut off from Earth and the colonies. If something happened to them, no one would know. How long until we reach Nexus Prime? Sujin asked. 6 hours, Hyunwoo replied. Daeho stood up. We proceed as planned. But everyone stays alert. If this is a trap, we need to be ready. The ships continued toward Nexus Prime. As they got closer, more alien vessels appeared around them. The aliens called them honor guards and ceremonial escorts. But the human officers noticed that these ships had their weapons powered up. When they finally reached Nexus Prime, the humans saw an amazing sight. The planet was covered in huge cities that sparkled like jewels. Space stations orbited the world, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. This was the center of an empire that controlled thousands of worlds. Impressive, Sujin said as she watched the planet grow larger on the screen. Scary is more like it, Hyunwoo replied. Look at those defense platforms. The planet was protected by massive weapons platforms that could destroy entire fleets. The humans counted over 50 of them, each one armed with enough firepower to level a city. The 3 human ships were directed to a docking station near the planet. As they approached, they were surrounded by even more alien vessels. The aliens called it a parade formation, but it looked more like a trap closing around them. Dragon's breath to soul's pride, Admiral Kim's voice came over the communication system. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Hyunwoo looked at his tactical display. Red dots showed alien ships in every direction. They were completely surrounded. Yes, Admiral. We count over 200 vessels within weapons range. For a peace ceremony, they certainly brought a lot of guns, Kim said grimly. The ships docked without incident. Ambassador Park and her diplomatic team prepared to leave for the planet's surface. But before they left, Dr. Bo-Ra Choi pulled Sujin aside. I intercepted something, Bo-Ra whispered. A message between 2 Confederation military commanders. They were talking about Phase 1 beginning tomorrow during the ceremony. Phase 1 of what? I don't know. The message was too short. But whatever it is, it happens during the treaty signing. Sujin nodded. Keep monitoring. If you learn anything else, contact Admiral Kim immediately. The human delegation left their ships and traveled to the planet's surface. Nexus Prime was even more impressive up close. The cities were filled with beings from dozens of different species, all working together under Confederation rule. They were taken to the Grand Assembly Hall, where the treaty would be signed. The building was enormous, with a ceiling so high that clouds formed inside it. Thousands of alien dignitaries filled the seats, all watching as the humans entered. Chancellor Veltar greeted them personally. Welcome to Nexus Prime, he said, extending one of his many limbs. Tomorrow will be a historic day for both our peoples. Thank you, Sujin replied. We're honored to be here. But as she shook the alien leader's limb, she noticed something in his multiple eyes. It wasn't warmth or friendship. It was the look of a predator watching its prey. That evening, the humans attended a grand feast in their honor. The food was specially prepared for human digestion, and the alien hosts seemed genuinely interested in human culture. But Sujin noticed that they were asking very specific questions about Earth's defenses and military capabilities. Meanwhile, back on the ships, the human crews were having their own problems. Dongjun discovered that their communication jamming was getting stronger. They could barely send messages between their own 3 ships now. It's like they don't want us talking to each other, he reported to Hyun-woo. On the Dragon's Breath, Bora was working frantically to intercept more alien communications. What she found made her blood run cold. The Confederation wasn't just planning to attack during the ceremony. They were planning to attack every human world at the same time. She tried to contact Admiral Kim, but found that internal communications were being monitored. Every message they sent was being recorded and analyzed by Confederation intelligence. Late that night, she managed to get a message to the Admiral, using an old emergency code that the aliens might not recognize. The message was simple. The storm begins at sunrise. Admiral Kim understood immediately. The Confederation was planning their attack for the next day, during the treaty ceremony. Earth, Mars, and all the human colonies would be hit simultaneously, while humanity's leaders were trapped on Nexus Prime. He called a secret meeting with his senior officers. They met in a maintenance tunnel deep inside the Dragon's Breath, where alien surveillance would have trouble reaching them. They planned to kill us tomorrow and then destroy every human world, he told them quietly. We have maybe 10 hours before they make their move. What can we do? Hyun-woo asked. We're outnumbered 100 to 1. We fight, Kim said simply. And we hope that Protocol 7 is working. What if the hidden fleet doesn't come? Then we make them pay as high a price as possible for their betrayal. The officers returned to their ships and began making quiet preparations. Weapons that were supposed to be locked away were secretly moved into position. Emergency protocols were activated. The crews were told to be ready for anything. On the planet's surface, Ambassador Park couldn't sleep. She stood on the balcony of her guest quarters looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, her people were preparing for what might be their final battle. She thought about the treaty they were supposed to sign tomorrow. All those promises of peace and cooperation. All lies designed to make humanity drop their guard. But the Confederation had made one mistake. They thought humans were like other species. They thought that if you cut off the head, the body would die. They were about to learn that humans were different. Cut off the head and 10 more would grow back, each one angrier than the last. Tomorrow would indeed be a historic day. But it wouldn't be the kind of history the Confederation was expecting. The morning of the treaty ceremony arrived with false sunshine and deadly smiles. Ambassador Soojin Park woke up knowing that today might be her last day alive. But she also knew that her job was to buy time for whatever help might be coming. She dressed carefully in her formal diplomatic uniform and went to meet with Chancellor Veltar for breakfast. The alien leader seemed excited about the day ahead. Today we begin a new age of peace, Veltar said, his multiple eyes gleaming. No more conflict between our peoples. Yes, Soojin agreed, keeping her voice steady. No more conflict. But she noticed that Veltar's guards had increased around the building. What had been a dozen security officers yesterday was now closer to 50. All of them were armed with weapons that could kill a human instantly. While Soojin played her role on the planet, serious work was happening in space. Commander Yuna Shin had spent the night doing something very dangerous. She had put on a spacesuit and left the Soul's Pride through a maintenance hatch. Using small thrusters, she had traveled silently through space to get close to a Confederation communication relay. It was risky. If they caught her, it would give away humanity's suspicions. But they needed to know what the aliens were really planning. Yuna attached a small device to the relay station. It was a listening device that could intercept alien communications without being detected. She waited 30 minutes for the device to gather data, then retrieved it and returned to her ship. What she found when she analyzed the data made her sick to her stomach. The Confederation had over 200 warships hidden in nearby star systems. They were waiting for a signal to attack not just the human delegation, but Earth itself. The attack was scheduled to begin in 6 hours, right when the treaty ceremony reached its climax. But that wasn't the worst part. The intercepted messages revealed that this wasn't just about stopping human expansion. The Confederation planned to wipe out humanity completely. Every human world, every colony, every ship. They wanted to erase humanity from the galaxy. Yuna immediately took her findings to Captain Hyun-woo Lee. He listened grimly as she explained what she had discovered. How long do we have? He asked. 6 hours until they begin the main attack. But they might move against us sooner if they suspect we know. Hyun-woo activated his emergency communicator. All senior officers to Conference Room Alpha. Emergency meeting. Within minutes, the top officers from all 3 human ships had gathered. Admiral Daeho Kim listened as Yuna presented her evidence. The room was silent when she finished. 200 ships, Dongjun said quietly. We have 3. Actually, we have more than 3, Dr. Bo-Ra Choi said. She had been working all night on her own project. Remember those ceremonial modifications we made to our ships? They weren't just for show. She pulled up technical diagrams on the room's display screen. Each of our ships has hidden weapon systems. The Soul's Pride has concealed missile launchers. The Dragon's Breath has a plasma cannon disguised as a sensor array. The Rising Sun has torpedo tubes hidden in its cargo bays. That's still only 3 ships against 200, Hyunwoo pointed out. True, Admiral Kim said. But our job isn't to win a battle against 200 ships. Our job is to survive long enough for Protocol 7 to work. What if Protocol 7 doesn't work? Someone asked. Then we make sure the galaxy knows what really happened here. Kim replied. We record everything and transmit it on every frequency we can reach. We make sure the truth survives even if we don't. Lieutenant Jae-Sung Ko, one of their best fighter pilots, had been quiet during the meeting. Now he spoke up. Admiral, I volunteer to take a fighter and try to break through their communication jamming. If I can get far enough away, I might be able to send a message to Earth. Kim shook his head. It's too dangerous. They'd shoot you down before you got 10 kilometers. Maybe, but maybe I could get a message through first. The Admiral thought about it. Not yet. Save that as a last resort. The meeting broke up with everyone knowing their roles. The ship crews began secretly preparing for battle while trying to look like they were just doing routine maintenance. Weapons were loaded and charged. Emergency systems were tested. Everyone waited for the signal that would tell them the fight had begun. On the planet's surface, Su-Jin was going through her own preparations. The treaty ceremony was scheduled to begin in 2 hours. She had read through the treaty documents one more time and found even more problems with them. The treaty wasn't just about peace. Hidden in the legal language were clauses that would make humanity a servant species to the Confederation. Humans would be required to hand over their military technology, relocate their colonies to areas approved by the Confederation, and accept alien oversight of their government. It was complete surrender disguised as a peace agreement. She met with her diplomatic team one final time before the ceremony. Whatever happens today, she told them, remember that we represent all of humanity. We don't surrender, we don't beg, and we don't give them the satisfaction of seeing us afraid. What if they try to force us to sign? Asked her assistant counselor Mi-young Jang. Then we refuse. And we keep refusing until they show their true intentions. The ceremony began with great fanfare. The Grand Assembly Hall was filled with thousands of alien dignitaries. Representatives from all 12 Confederation species were present, along with journalists and observers from dozens of other worlds. Su-Jin and her team were escorted to a platform in the center of the hall. Chancellor Veltar stood across from them, holding the treaty documents. The ceremony was being broadcast across the galaxy. Today, Veltar announced in a loud voice, we welcome humanity into the Confederation of Peaceful Worlds. Today we end the threat of human aggression forever. Su-Jin noticed his choice of words. End the threat of human aggression. Not prevent future conflicts or create lasting peace. End the threat. As if humanity was the problem that needed to be solved. The alien leader began reading from the treaty. As he spoke, Su-Jin realized that this version was different from what she had been given to study. New clauses had been added overnight. Clauses that were even worse than before. According to this new version, humanity would be required to disarm completely. All human military forces would be disbanded. Human colonies would be placed under direct Confederation control. Any human who refused to comply would be arrested as a threat to galactic peace. It wasn't a treaty. It was a surrender document. When Veltar finished reading, he looked at Su-Jin expectantly. Ambassador Park, do you accept these terms on behalf of humanity? The hall went silent. Thousands of alien eyes watched her. In the galleries above, she could see armed guards moving into position. On the screens around the hall, she could see that this moment was being broadcast to every world in Confederation space. Su-Jin stood up slowly. She looked at the treaty documents, then at Chancellor Veltar, then at the watching crowd. No, she said clearly. Humanity rejects these terms. A murmur went through the crowd. Veltar's multiple eyes narrowed. Perhaps you misunderstood, Ambassador. These terms are not negotiable. You will sign or face the consequences. And what consequences are those? Sujin asked. The consequences of defying the will of the Confederation. Sujin smiled. It was not a diplomatic smile. Chancellor Veltar, let me be clear. Humanity did not come here to surrender. We came here believing we were negotiating with honorable beings who wanted genuine peace. Instead, we find liars and would-be conquerors who think they can threaten us into submission. The hall erupted in angry voices. Some aliens were shouting at Sujin. Others were demanding that she be arrested immediately. But Sujin kept speaking, her voice carrying clearly through the noise. You want to know what humanity's answer is to your demands? Here it is. We reject your false treaty. We reject your threats. And we reject any attempt to control us or our people. Veltar stood up, all 8 of his legs trembling with rage. You have made a grave mistake, human. You could have lived as servants. Now you will die as rebels. Maybe, Sujin said, but we'll die as free beings. And that's something you'll never understand. That's when the alarms started ringing. Emergency signals echoed through the hall as urgent messages began flooding into the Confederation Command Center. The messages all said the same thing. Long-range sensors had detected a massive fleet approaching Nexus Prime. It was bigger than anything in the Confederation's records. And it was flying human battle flags. Protocol 7 had worked. The Ghost Fleet had arrived. The emergency alarms in the Grand Assembly Hall created chaos. Alien dignitaries ran for the exits while security guards shouted orders in a dozen different languages. But Ambassador Sujin Park stood calmly in the center of it all, watching Chancellor Veltar's expression change from anger to confusion to fear. What is the meaning of this? Veltar demanded, speaking into a communication device that one of his aides had rushed to him. The answer came from General Kriksmol, the Confederation's military commander. His voice echoed through the hall's speakers for everyone to hear. Chancellor, we have a problem. Our sensors show a human fleet approaching the system. It's massive. We count at least 50 warships, possibly more. Veltar's multiple eyes turned to stare at Sujin. Impossible. You brought only 3 ships. We monitored all of your communications, Sujin smiled. You monitored the communications you could see. But humanity has been preparing for this kind of betrayal for a long time. In space above Nexus Prime, the arrival of the human fleet was causing panic in the Confederation forces. The aliens had positioned their ships to trap 3 human vessels. Instead, they found themselves facing one of the most powerful battle fleets ever assembled. Admiral Taimin Jung stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Indomitable. Around him, his officers worked quickly to coordinate the fleet's movements. Jung was a veteran of humanity's secret wars, the conflicts that most people never heard about. He had spent years fighting in the dark spaces between the stars, keeping humanity safe from threats they never knew existed. Status report, Jung ordered. 52 ships in formation and ready for combat, reported his tactical officer, Captain Minji Song. The Confederation fleet is trying to reorganize, but they're scattered across the system. Any word from Admiral Kim? Yes, sir. His ships are surrounded but still operational. Ambassador Park is on the planet's surface, Jung nodded. The plan was working so far, but they were far from safe. The Confederation had more ships in total, but they were spread out and unprepared for a real fight. Open a channel to the entire system, Jung ordered. All frequencies. When the communication system was ready, Jung began speaking. His words were transmitted to every ship, every station, and every world in the Nexus Prime system. This is Fleet Admiral Taemin Jung of the 7th Human Expeditionary Force. We came here believing we were invited to a peace ceremony. Instead, we have discovered a plot to destroy humanity. The Galactic Confederation has revealed itself to be nothing more than a group of would-be conquerors who use deception and treachery instead of honest diplomacy. Jung paused, letting his words sink in across the galaxy. The broadcast was being picked up by communication relays and spread to other star systems. To the people of the Confederation worlds, we want you to know the truth. Your leaders plan to murder our diplomatic team and then attack our civilian populations. They wanted to commit genocide against humanity simply because we refused to bow to their demands for submission. On Nexus Prime, Chancellor Veltar was frantically trying to regain control of the situation. He ordered his guards to arrest Sujin and her team, but the human ambassador was still broadcasting her own message. The Chancellor claimed this was a peace treaty, Sujin said, holding up the documents. But read it for yourselves. It demands that humanity disarm completely, surrender our colonies, and accept alien rule. This is not peace. This is conquest disguised as diplomacy. Around the galaxy, beings on hundreds of worlds were watching the drama unfold. Many of them had been told that humans were dangerous aggressors who threatened galactic peace. Now they were seeing the truth. The first shots of the battle were fired by a Confederation destroyer that tried to attack one of Admiral Kim's surrounded ships. The Soul's Pride responded immediately, revealing the hidden missile launchers that Dr. Bo-Ra Choi had mentioned. The Confederation ship was destroyed in seconds. That single exchange triggered a massive space battle. Hundreds of ships began firing at each other across the Nexus Prime system. The Confederation forces had numbers, but the human ships had better training and more advanced technology. Captain Hyun-Woo Lee commanded the Soul's Pride with skill that amazed even his own crew. His ship danced between enemy vessels, its hidden weapons striking targets that thought they were safe. The Dragon's Breath and Rising Sun fought just as fiercely, proving that humanity's ceremonial escort was actually a deadly fighting force. But the real surprise came when the human Ghost Fleet revealed its full capabilities. These ships had been designed in secret, using technology that the Confederation had never seen. They carried weapons that could punch through alien shields like they were made of paper. Commodore Sang-Ho Ryu commanded a squadron of the new ships. His vessel, the Shadow's Edge, led an attack on the Confederation's command station. The aliens tried to defend themselves, but their weapons couldn't penetrate the advanced human armor. "Target their communication arrays," Ryu ordered. "Cut off their ability to coordinate." The Shadow's Edge and its sister ship systematically destroyed the Confederation's ability to control their scattered forces. Without central command, the alien ships began making mistakes. On the planet's surface, the situation was becoming desperate for the Confederation leadership. Their carefully planned trap had become a disaster. Instead of a simple execution disguised as a ceremony, they were facing a full-scale war that the entire galaxy was watching. General Krixmol contacted Chancellor Veltar directly. "Sir, we need to evacuate you from the planet. The human fleet is too strong. We're losing ships faster than we can replace them." "No!" Veltar screamed. "We outnumber them. Use the defense platforms." The massive weapon platforms around Nexus Prime began firing at the human fleet. These were the most powerful weapons in Confederation space, designed to destroy entire fleets. But the human ships were ready for them. Captain Min-Ji Song had spent years studying Confederation technology. She knew exactly how their defense platforms worked and how to defeat them. "All ships execute Pattern 7, she ordered. The human fleet split into small groups that moved in unpredictable patterns. The defense platforms were designed to target large formations, not individual ships moving independently. They wasted their shots firing at empty space while the human vessels closed in. The platforms were powerful, but they were also large and slow. The human ships were fast and agile. One by one, the defense platforms were destroyed by precise strikes at their weak points. In less than 2 hours, the space around Nexus Prime belonged to humanity. But Admiral Jung knew that the real battle was just beginning. The Confederation had more fleets in other systems, and they would be coming to Nexus Prime as soon as they learned what was happening. "Send a message to Earth Command," Jung ordered. "Tell them that Protocol 7 is in effect and we need reinforcements." "Sir," Captain Song reported, "we're receiving signals from across Confederation space. Several member species are withdrawing their ships from the conflict. They don't want to fight for leaders who lied to them." Jung smiled grimly. The truth was spreading faster than the Confederation could control it. Some alien species were beginning to realize that they had been lied to about humanity's intentions. On the planet, Su Jin was still under guard, but she was no longer afraid. The sound of the space battle could be heard even on the surface as ships exploded in the atmosphere above. "Your fleet is losing," she told Veltar, "and the galaxy is watching. Every species that you claimed was in danger from humanity can see that you're the real aggressors." Veltar was desperate now. His perfect plan had fallen apart completely. "Even if your ships win here, we have fleets throughout the galaxy. We will hunt down every human world and destroy them all." "Maybe," Su Jin said, "but you'll have to explain to your own people why you're committing genocide against a species that only wanted peace." That's when the next surprise arrived. Long-range sensors detected another massive fleet approaching Nexus Prime. But this one wasn't human. It was a mixed force of ships from several Confederation species. However, these ships weren't coming to help Chancellor Veltar. They were coming to arrest him. The truth about the Confederation's deception had spread too far and too fast to be contained. Several member species had decided that they wanted no part in genocide. They were coming to Nexus Prime to take control of their own government and end the madness. The real battle for the galaxy's future was about to begin. The arrival of the mixed alien fleet changed everything. Chancellor Veltar watched in horror as ships from his own Confederation approached Nexus Prime with weapons aimed not at the humans, but at his own forces. "This is Admiral Zephyr of the Aquatic Alliance," came a broadcast on all frequencies. "We are here to place Chancellor Veltar and General Criximol under arrest for crimes against galactic peace. All Confederation ships are ordered to stand down immediately." Sujin Park smiled as she watched the chaos unfold around her. The alien guards who had been pointing weapons at her were now receiving confused orders from their commanders. Half the Confederation military was being told to fight the humans, while the other half was being told to arrest their own leaders. "It seems your empire is falling apart," Sujin told Veltar. The spider-like alien leader was shaking with rage and fear. "You don't understand," he hissed. "Humanity is a virus that will spread across the galaxy and consume everything. We were trying to save civilization. By committing genocide? By doing what was necessary." Before Sujin could respond, the doors to the assembly hall burst open. A group of alien soldiers entered, but these weren't Veltar's guards. They wore the uniforms of the Multi-Species Security Force, a group that represented several Confederation worlds. "Chancellor Veltar," their leader announced, "you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit genocide, unauthorized military action, and violations of the Galactic Peace Accords." Veltar tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. His own security forces stepped aside as the multi-species officers arrested him. The architect of humanity's destruction was led away in chains while the galaxy watched. In space, the battle was ending just as dramatically. General Criximol's forces found themselves caught between the human fleet and the rebel Confederation ships. Faced with impossible odds, most of his commanders chose to surrender rather than die for a cause that their own people had rejected. Admiral Tai Min-jung stood on his bridge, watching as Confederation ships lowered their shields and powered down their weapons. The space around Nexus Prime, which had been a battlefield just hours before, was now filled with vessels from dozens of different species, all flying flags of truce. "Admiral," Captain Minji-song reported, "we're receiving a priority message from Earth." The main screen showed President Dayun Lim, the leader of Earth's government. Behind her, Jung could see the massive bulk of humanity's home fleet. "Admiral Jung," President Lim said, "I'm bringing the full battle fleet to Nexus Prime. We'll be there in 6 hours. What's the situation?" "Under control, Madam President," Jung replied. "The Confederation's leadership has been arrested by their own people. Most of their military forces have surrendered, but we have a bigger opportunity here." "What kind of opportunity?" "The chance to build something better than what came before." President Lim nodded slowly. "I'll be there soon. Make sure Ambassador Park is safe, and prepare for the most important diplomatic meeting in human history." Over the next few hours, representatives from across the galaxy gathered at Nexus Prime. The Confederation was collapsing, but something new was taking its place. Species that had been forced to follow Veltar's aggressive policies were now free to make their own choices. Ambassador Sujin Park found herself at the center of it all. Instead of signing a surrender document, she was helping to write the charter for a new kind of galactic government. One based on equality and mutual respect, rather than domination and fear. The first meeting, of what would become the Galactic Alliance, took place in the same hall where the Confederation had tried to destroy humanity. Sujin stood before representatives of 47 different species, many of whom had never worked together before. "We gather here not as conquerors and conquered," she began, "but as equals who share a common goal. We want to create a galaxy where every species can grow and prosper, without fear of domination by others." Admiral Woojin Baek, who had arrived with President Lim and the Earth Fleet, was amazed by what he saw. "I never thought I'd see the day when this many species would voluntarily work together," he told Admiral Jung. "Neither did I," Jung replied. But sometimes it takes a crisis to show people what's really important. The negotiations took 3 days. There were arguments and disagreements as expected when bringing together so many different cultures. But there was also something new, genuine respect for each other's differences. The humans surprised many of the alien representatives. Instead of demanding special treatment as the victors of the recent battle, humanity insisted on being treated as equals. They shared their military technology freely with species that had been their enemies just days before. Captain Hyunwoo Lee found himself working closely with former Confederation officers to establish new security protocols. The aliens were amazed by humanity's willingness to trust them so quickly. "Why do you share your secrets with us?" asked Commander Thane, a reptilian officer who had fought against the Soul's Pride during the battle. "Because keeping secrets is what caused this whole mess," Hyunwoo replied. "If we're going to build something better, we need to trust each other." Dr. Bora Choi was equally busy sharing her knowledge of alien technology and biology. She worked with scientists from dozens of species to establish new research protocols that would benefit everyone. The Confederation tried to control knowledge, she explained, to a group of alien researchers. The Alliance will share it freely. That's how we'll all grow stronger together. The most important moment came when the new Galactic Alliance Charter was ready to be signed. Unlike the false treaty that had started this crisis, this document had been written by representatives of all member species working together. President Lim stood before the assembled delegates. "This charter represents a new beginning for all of us," she said. "Not just for humanity, but for every species that believes in freedom, equality, and mutual respect." One by one, the species representatives signed the charter. When it was humanity's turn, Soo-Jin Park stepped forward with the pen. But before she signed, she looked up at the gathered aliens. "The Confederation invited us to a peace treaty planning to destroy us," she said. "We came with warships, but we brought peace instead. Today we're all signing a real peace treaty, one that we wrote together as equals." The signing ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, beings watched as their representatives created something that had never existed before, a truly voluntary alliance of free species. But the most important moment came after the ceremony, when Admiral Young met with his former enemies. General Krixmol had been arrested, but many of his subordinates were now working with the Alliance to establish new security arrangements. "You could have destroyed us completely," one former Confederation Admiral told Young. "Why didn't you?" Young thought about the question for a moment. "Because destroying you wouldn't have solved anything. It would have just created new enemies and new conflicts. This way, we all get something better." Captain Hyunwoo Lee had the final word. As he watched human and alien ships patrolling together through the Nexus Prime system, he reflected on everything that had happened. "They invited us to a peace treaty planning to kill us," he said to his crew. "We showed up with warships and gave them actual peace instead. That's the most human thing I've ever seen." The new Galactic Alliance faced many challenges in the years that followed. There were disagreements and occasional conflicts between member species. But there was also something that the old Confederation had never achieved: genuine cooperation based on mutual respect. Humanity had entered the galactic community not as conquerors or servants, but as partners, and in doing so, they had helped create something better than anyone had thought possible. The peace treaty that started as a trap had become the foundation for a new age of galactic civilization, and it all began when humanity decided to bring warships to a peace ceremony, but chose to use them to defend freedom rather than impose domination. In the end, the greatest victory wasn't won with weapons or technology. It was won with the simple idea that all thinking beings deserve to be free, and that real peace could only exist when it was chosen freely by everyone involved. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not the fear of their warships, but the hope of their principles.